The first time I heard the phrase managing up, I was really confused. I had no idea what it meant, and I honestly thought it had a bit of a negative connotation. Over the years, however, I've learned that it's a pretty fundamental concept in terms of cultivating career satisfaction and success. If I had to define it in my own words, I would say that managing up is a combination of knowing how to get what you need while also making sure the goals of your company and manager are being met. In my head, I think of it in 3 buckets: communicating effectively, being proactive, and creating value. Are you sharing your thoughts and input in ways that your manager can understand? Are you removing barriers that get in the way of results? And are you solving the problems that your manager needs you to solve? The beautiful thing about the professional working world is that each one of us arrives to it with very unique strengths and skills. Early on, it can be easy to assume that those around us share the same working styles and preferences, but in fact, we each approach our work with very different perspectives and instincts. To establish an effective relationship with your manager, it can be helpful to open up a dialogue around those preferences early on. Something as simple as knowing whether your manager prefers email, phone calls, or face-to-face check-ins can go a long way. You could ask them if they prefer formal or informal information sharing, how often they need project updates, what their expectations are in regards to delivering and receiving feedback, those sorts of things. Knowing these preferences can go a long way in establishing mutual understanding and will ensure that you can frame your ideas and input in ways that will be most helpful to them. I had a manager once who loved logging on from home very late at night. I would often wake up to several emails with time-sensitive deadlines that had me scrambling before even my first cup of coffee. It drove me absolutely crazy until I realized the pattern and I could adjust my style to support what she needed. As you continue growing and developing in your role and understanding the true scope of what you are responsible for, then you can start to really observe and listen for deeper context. Hopefully, you already have an idea of how your own performance is being measured, and if you don't, ask. And once you know that, you can start to zone in on the results your manager is expected to produce. This isn't about overstepping bounds and doing your boss's job, but rather it's about anticipating their needs and being proactive. This is also a great way to highlight skills that you have that your manager may not even be aware of. For example, if you know that your manager has a meeting every Tuesday at 2 that requires him to provide specific data on a topic that you are very familiar with, is this something that you can do to support him? Ultimately, I know that if I can help make my manager's life easier, that will go a long way to making my life easier. I realize, of course, that all of this is easier said than done. The reality is that sometimes relationships are difficult and styles clash. Managers are wildly imperfect human beings, just like the rest of us. When that happens, this is the time to really lean on those communication skills and approach conversations with what I call reversibility thinking. If you are repeatedly not receiving the tools or information that you need to complete your work, why might that be happening? Are there politics at play, or is your manager's plate just too full? If you can come to the conversation presenting solutions instead of challenges, this can go a long way in getting you closer to what you need. Ultimately, our job in the workplace is to create value and produce results. If we can proactively come to our relationship with flexibility, empathy, and an eye towards good communication, we can cultivate our own success.